Ladies and gentlemen, 2019 South Dakota Hall of Fame inductee, John Calvin, Jim Roby, speaking on his behalf tonight.
Hi everybody, my name is Jim Roby. I'm an attorney in Watertown, South Dakota, and I have a high honor of speaking for John Calvin this evening. John is in Watertown. John and his wife Prudy couldn't be here tonight because of some illness, and those of you that know John, you'll be happy to know that he's recovering and he'll be out and about soon. John's story and his connection with South Dakota, I think, we can focus on the word investment. And here's why I want to tell you about that. John came to South Dakota in 1987 as the recipient of the first Ready loan in South Dakota. Governor George Mickelson's administration sought John out, and Governor Mickelson asked him to move his business from Litchfield, Minnesota, over here to Watertown. And we've got this program to help encourage economic development. So Ready Fund loan number 1 went to John Calvin, and that's been an investment for the state that has returned many times over what we put into that investment. John Calvin first became acquainted with South Dakota in 1962 when he started coming here for annual pheasant hunts, and he loved the state. But John's a Michigan man. John grew up in Bay City, Michigan. He was an outstanding student and diver, both in high school and for the University of Michigan Wolverines. And if you ask John, he's a Michigan man. But he'll also tell you he's a South Dakota man, too, because when he came over here in 1987, he was welcomed with open arms. First of all, he needed people trained for his business, special types of welding. He went to Lake Erie Technical Institute in Watertown, and they trained his workforce. And then he needed assistance in various other aspects of the business, and the business grew in Watertown. And John worked hard, and he told his employees that he invested in, if you work hard for me, I'll work hard for you. And that's just not a saying with John. John later on decided it was time for him to sell his business. So in 1996, he decided to sell it. But what John did is he essentially turned the business over to his employees with an employee stock ownership program. Years later, a very large corporation bought that business, and there are many people that worked for many years for John that do not have financial worries. And all of those employees, when you see John on the street, they'll go up and shake his hand. He knows them all by name, and they're always happy to see him. John's business became one of Watertown's largest employers. To this day, that business is very successful and continues to be one of its largest employers. When John retired from the active business world, he then was pulled into public service. Well, it really started before he fully retired, but Governor Mickelson asked John's assistance. Governor Miller asked his assistance. He worked on the budget committee. Governor Janklow said, John, you know what it takes to get people here to South Dakota. Help tell our story. And he did that under Governor Janklow. Governor Rounds asked him to take part in a major overhaul of several departments in state government. And John said he'd do that. He had so many secretary's hats on, I don't know how he stood up. Governor Dugard asked him to return to sort of where he began, because he asked John to serve on the Rural Economic Development Initiative Board, the Ready Fund Board, the one that started John Calvin. And now Governor Noem counts John as a close friend and an advisor. I asked John when I came here, who did he want to thank? And he said there's so many people that he owes great thanks to, but there are some special ones that he thought I'd have time before the music started to at least mention. First of all, he wanted to say thanks to Brad Johnson. Brad, a good friend of John's in Watertown, nominated John for this high honor. Jerry Lickness, a member of the Hall of Fame board, and her husband Clark have helped John get prepared for this. His close friend, Congressman Dusty Johnson, can't be here tonight, but he wanted to express his thanks for his support and friendship over the years. His favorite nephew, Ben Calvin, is here. Ben's from Michigan, and he came all this way to be here for John's event, and he wanted to thank Ben for that. He's got many family friends and close associates, former business associates, that are too numerous to mention. Many of them were going to be here, but because of John's illness, had to change their plans. And perhaps most importantly, John would thank his close wife of 42 years, Prudy Calvin, and everybody in Watertown knows when we talk of John, it's often John and Prudy. John and Prudy continue to invest in Watertown. They are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, benefactor of scholarship funds for Lake Erie Technical Institute. They recently co-chaired the fundraising effort for a major fundraising project at Lake Erie Technical Institute. He serves on our board at the Prairie Lakes Hospital, which, as many of you might know, is quite a hospital for a community our size. So I stand here to give you thanks from John Calvin. John says that this is the highest award he has ever received. Thank you.